And welcome to Fox News Primetime. I'm Jesse Waters. Every week we tell you how bad crime's getting in America, and every week the situation only gets worse. But what did we expect? That's what happens when you take away police and let the criminals run wild. This weekend, Chicago had its most violent weekend of the year, with over 45 shootings that left 6 people dead and 74 others injured. How's the city responding to that? By barely mentioning it. The headline in Chicago tonight is that they fired the police officer who shot an armed suspect back in March. So good luck with that, Chicago. Streets there certainly sound a lot safer tonight. It was also a violent weekend here in New York City. 23 people shot, 2 people dead. One of the victims was a 21-year-old Marine hit by a stray bullet in what used to be one of the safest spots in the city, Times Square. This marks the second shooting there in recent months. And the data speaks for itself. Crime is totally out of control, and it's the Democrats' fault. They defunded the police, eliminated cash bail, emptied the jails, and hired crooked district attorneys who let just about everything slide. Got a problem with that? Too bad. AOC says you need to calm down and put it all in context.
We are seeing these headlines about percentage increases. Now, I want to say that any amount of harm is unacceptable and too much. But I also want to make sure that this hysteria, that this doesn't drive a hysteria, and that we look at these numbers in context so that we can make responsible decisions about what to allocate in that context.
So Democrats are willing to admit violent crime is unacceptable, but it's certainly not their fault. They have a brand new talking point: blame Republicans.
Let's talk about who defunded the police. When we were in Congress last year trying to pass a rescue plan, I'm sorry, not the rescue plan, but an emergency relief plan for cities that were cash-strapped and laying off police and firefighters, it was the Republicans who objected to it. So look, Republicans are very good at staying on talking points of who says defund the police, but the truth is they defunded the police.
A lot of Democrats who supported and voted for the bill could help ensure local cops were kept on the beat in communities across the country. As you know, didn't receive a single Republican vote.
James Craig's the former police chief of Detroit. He's been pushing back on the Democrats' anti-police agenda every step of the way. All right, James, it's clear crime's gotten more brazen. It's happening in broad daylight in touristy parts of town. And it's the same people every time, the same trigger pullers. They're out on bail and they're out on parole because they have soft sentences. What's the Democratic Party's plan to stop it? Because I don't really hear anything.
There is no plan, Jesse. I got to tell you, when I listen to the plan, it just scratches the surface. It's more of the same, but they fail to mention the key issues. This bail reform is killing the major cities. Nobody wants to hold the courts responsible. And let's face it, they're public servants too. No one wants to hold the prosecutors responsible. They're public servants. So, and then they have the nerve to turn around and say, crime is up because of police. I was ashamed when I heard a colleague of mine from Los Angeles, Cheryl Dorsey, make the statement that the police are abandoning their posts because they're cowardly, and she used some other term that I'm not familiar with. That's not true. Jesse, these men and women, and I can speak to the men and women in Detroit who do a phenomenal job, despite the anti-police rhetoric. They're facing dangerous suspects every single day. They're being shot at, they're being attacked, but despite that, they go out and serve with distinction and honor. And of course, when we see a George Floyd type situation, that doesn't represent the vast majority of the men and women. Then you got a mayor out in Chicago who makes it seem as if the police are dangerous. What message is she sending? I got to tell you, the profession is in crisis, Jesse. It's in crisis, and nobody is standing up and talking about it.
Well, you've seen a wave of retirements, and that's pretty much the only thing you need to know when it comes to the feelings of these police officers who, as you said, are putting their life on the line all day to protect the very people that the Democrats claim they care about. You mentioned Chicago. They had more people die of gunshot wounds in Chicago last weekend than COVID-19. Think about that. There were 0 COVID deaths in the entire state of Illinois, and there were about 7 people shot dead just alone in the city of Chicago. If that's the kind of context AOC is looking for, well, then, Congresswoman, there you have it right there.
Where's the outrage, Jesse? You're talking about children. Last count I had, 52 children or young adults, 15 years and under, killed since the beginning of the year. Where's the outrage? And then what you hear with this new crime strategy, we want to focus on the gun. It's not the gun. Let's focus on the criminal. It's criminals who have gotten access to guns illegally, and they're committing crimes. This is not about gun control. That doesn't work. Look, I've been a long-time advocate that law-abiding citizens should be armed. And now when you talk about defunding the police, and in some of these cities, their police staffing is reduced, who's going to protect law-abiding citizens? And so, of course, they should be armed. And it will have an impact on reducing violence. I've said it, and I continue to say it.
Yeah, the best way to get guns off the street is to get the guys squeezing the triggers of those guns off the street. In Illinois, it's 3 to 7 years illegal possession of a firearm, but they don't prosecute it. And that's the problem. All right, James Craig, thanks so much.
They don't prosecute. I know you got to go.
I do.
Thank you, Jesse.
All right. Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.